All right. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to us, coming through us through the Zoom here, and also here live. Thanks for coming to Blake Mallon's house, the president of Liv. And this is an invitation to meet the Liv family. Jason O'Toole, been business partners for the last 10 years, traveled the world, helping entrepreneurs accomplish their dreams and through the platform of entrepreneurship. And now the greatest venture that we've ever taken on is Liv. And you're going to find out a lot about what we've done the last 2 years to create what we believe will categorically change the landscape of direct selling and also bring a lot of new people into a lifestyle that they have only dreamed about, and we're going to help people accomplish that. So we're really glad to have you all here. We're all very, very excited to share this information, and it would be my great honor to introduce our CEO and a millionaire maker on many, many levels. He has worked with me and worked with many people through our teams over the years to teach them the skills, to teach them mindset, and also provide the greatest opportunity for financial and personal advancement that I've ever known. So one of my best friends and best mentors, Nick Sarnicola. Thanks for coming out, bud.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's see if we're okay. Unable to connect to a server. I don't know if we need to connect to a server here, but just let you know it says unable to. So I'm just going to hit the OK button and keep moving. Well, guys, thanks for coming in. And as all of you know, this is I guess two things. One is it's a private get-together. So we've got all people that have background in the industry, either in the room or on the Zoom. We probably got about a half a dozen to a dozen people on the Zoom. We got another dozen people here. And the idea here is to be able to provide a 10,000-foot view perspective of what we do from a full-time networker's point of view, but also to be able to take each piece of that and then to go into deeper detail. Our intention is to share with you guys stuff that you can't find on a website. If it's on the website, chances are we won't go through it here, or maybe we'll just touch on it. It's more for you to get connected to who we are as people, and what's the culture. What are the philosophies? What's the depth of what we're doing and why? And that's really the intention of getting together like this. So once every 30 to 60 days, we'll grab 10 to 20 people that are full-time or have been full-time in the industry of direct selling, and do that deep dive. And sometimes it's we know it won't be for everyone in the room, because every vehicle is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. It doesn't make us the wrong company or you the wrong person. It just means that each vehicle is not for each person, and that's okay. So that's why we do this, and it allows people to come here and go, okay, well, I took the time to look at everything that this company is, and wow, this is for me, or you know what, this is not for me. And really, that's a life decision. As a full-time networker, that's a big choice. That's a big decision, and we know that, we get that, which is why we do this. So diving right in, I guess one little side note, it's important that everyone realizes that not everyone's made a decision to be in the company. So you got to be very careful with the pictures you take and or post, etc. Make sure if you don't know them, they are not in the photo, because there might be someone that's coming down to look at our company that's still, transitioning from another business, and that would be detrimental, to them from a professional perspective. So diving in just to where we're going to take this, I'm going to go high level and kind of talk a little bit about a backstory and also the creation of this company and where it's at. And then Blake's going to take those things and he's going to drill down into each of them. So if I'm a little bit more conceptual, that up front, and then Blake's going to go more specifics and details, etc. So my quick background: from Michigan originally, super blue collar, so I wasn't raised in a business environment. All four of my grandparents, they worked at the same factory, and so did my dads and uncles and cousins, etc. My dad, not my dad's, my one dad, he worked at that factory, and so on and so forth. So the path that we had was, if you don't go to college, you're going to go work at that factory, right? So I ended up going to school, but I ended up going to college, but I went for baseball. I had a baseball scholarship. So I saw sports as my way out of the same path that everyone else in my family had gone. And it was really, if you don't come from a successful family and you want to be really successful one day, your options are limited, you think. and you think they're limited to, can you sing, can you dance, can you play an instrument, can you run, can you jump, can you rap, can you do something illegal? Like what? That's the only way, to make it. And it turns out the number one way for wealth creation is entrepreneurship. They just don't teach it. They don't teach it in middle class or poor families, obviously, because they're not usually entrepreneurs. Or number two is they don't teach it in schools because it's not a part of the curriculum. Because I can go a full day on that. So I was luckily introduced to entrepreneurship at 18. I got introduced through direct sales, so I've stayed in the same industry for the last 21 years. And I fell in love with it. I didn't have any success with it, but I did fall in love with it. I was just the young kid in your team that was super committed, that was making no money, that had to go through the learning curve of the how-to. So I showed up to every training. I showed up to every presentation. I would drive hours upon hours upon hours for a 2-hour training. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted information because I had chosen that this was going to be my vehicle to financial success, and that I no longer wanted to rely on a physical gift such as baseball. And when I look back on the journey, it's such a short time frame to dedicate to master something, which was a few years, but so terribly difficult for most people to commit to, right? So most people don't become successful at something because they just won't go through that learning curve. And to do it at a young age is even harder because there's quote unquote more distractions and it's harder inside your environment. You've got all your young friends who don't want to get serious about anything. And then you got all the adults who are telling you what you should be serious about, and business isn't one of them because, that's hard, that's difficult, that doesn't work, and you need to go to college, you need to get good grades, and all that other stuff. So thankfully I didn't listen to any of them. And I went after, direct sales entrepreneurship very aggressively. And for one day it worked. It started to work, and then it worked better, and then it worked better. I want to give you the shortest version I can, but to give you guys enough of the backstory to help lay the foundation for what we're doing with this company. Unfortunately, that company, we caught the tail end of its success in the product that was with, which was, if you can even imagine this, it was long distance phone service. 20 years ago, that was 25, 30 cents a minute. And a couple of years later, it was free. So all of a sudden, you've got 15, 20,000 customers that are paying 30 cents a minute for something that's now free. Your business is in trouble. So they struggled to figure out how to create something new, fresh, and exciting. Company went out of business. And Blake and I were just like the young top producers. So we just kept selling whatever it was they told us to sell, not realizing that it just was a company that was headed out and was just reaching for anything and didn't have any real substance with anything that it was reaching for. So Blake and I had a decision to make, which was, okay, company, we got a phone call on a Friday, which is, hey, we're done investing into this company. We're going to shut the doors. And we had until Monday to figure out what we're going to do. And on Monday, we had about 3,000 people that were still active in our team, most of which were under 25 years old. And we basically called the company and said, what if we took over the company? And long story short is we took this company that was out of business and moved it into the shipping closet. And we had 3 employees, one that answered the phones and one that shipped and one that did the commissioning and the finance. And it was me and Blake. And they had just developed a relationship with a scientist out of Detroit who was the chief wellness officer of Henry Ford's Health System in Detroit, which is one of the largest health systems in the world. And this guy had some patents and had some great formulas. And we said, what if we built a company around to start the formulation of his kind of anchor product? And that was what we did. And we created a great company off this flagship product. And we have no idea how we got off the ground because we had, of our 3,000, 90% of them quit. So we had 300 kids under the age of 25 selling a patented anti-aging formula. So the math doesn't really make sense there, right? So a bunch of 20-year-olds running around with, an anti-aging formula that slows the aging process of the mitochondria of the cell, and in some cases reverses the effects of age-related DNA damage to the mitochondria. I mean, it doesn't make any sense when you're 21 running around saying that, right? So, we hung around long enough to get the product into the hands of the people that needed it, which was, baby boomers. And we really became a science-first, product-first company that did decently. And within 3 years, we were doing $3 million a month, which is not a massive success story, but it's a pretty cool story to say I was 26, maybe 25, and Blake was 23 or 24, and to take this company that these multi-millionaire network marketing gurus and experts ran out of business, to take their failure and their software and a couple of their staff and et cetera, and to take even one of their contacts and turn it into a company that was doing 30 plus million in its third year, that's a really cool story. But relatively small in comparison to big success stories. And we were quote unquote well on our way. We made a really strategic partnership in August of 2008. We were like, okay, this is brilliant. And we were purchased in a 4-year buyout by a company that was $1 billion plus a year company that had multiple direct sales companies that it owned. And we said, this is perfect. They're 30 years in business, 30 countries, $1 billion plus a year in sales. They're going to help take us internationally. They know the footprint. They know all the stuff that we don't know. And this is what we thought. And it turned out being, in the long term, quite the opposite, is that they were buying us because we knew all the stuff they didn't know, which is how to be modern, how to be cutting edge, how to be social media driven, and it was completely the opposite. So what happens next is you could probably write a series of books on, and one of them, which is the month after we were purchased in this 4-year buyout, the economy collapses. So obviously nobody sees this coming, and 2009 hits, and everything in the world following the U.S. plummets, and our industry of direct sales actually drops 40% in 1 year, which was really intriguing because direct sales has never gone down in a recession before. It's only gone up. So now you got the Great Recession, and it plummets. U.S. sales of direct selling goes from 60 billion to 35 billion, 36 billion in 1 year. So just disaster. And we were what we considered to be just the first company to make the adjustment to the recession. And we came up with some ideas that at the end of the day, our parent company that bought us said, we don't believe those ideas are going to work. You were doing $3 million a month when we bought you. You're now doing $600,000 a month, because high-end anti-aging is no longer, forget a necessity. It's not even interest with the way the economy had plummeted. Nobody cared. So they're like, we don't believe in your new ideas, which means we're done putting money in. You guys can either shut the doors and bankrupt it, or you can put up whatever money you need for your new idea. And I want you to, you're going to see a common theme throughout the story where the smart money shut the doors, we stepped in and took over the company. Then the smart money that bought us wrote us off. And I don't mean like wrote us off like, hey, your cousin wrote you off, he's not showing up to your birthday. I mean like your $1 billion investor wrote you down against their taxes and said, this is a bad investment, we'd like to deduct it against our taxes. That's what I mean by wrote us off. Publicly traded company. And they said, you want to keep the doors open, you fund it. So that's what we did. We came up with this idea called challenge marketing. And we bought challenge.com, and we came out with this thing called the Body of a Vibe 90-Day Challenge. And we're the first people to social media with a before and after picture and a 90-day challenge. And they said it wouldn't work. We thought it would. And we put up the millions of dollars and cleaned out our bank accounts that we had just worked all those years for. We were back at zero again, right? I was back to being 18. Just like I was at 25 after I made my first million and put it in to start the company. I was back to putting the millions we made back in and saying, okay, let's go for it. And it worked. I changed my role in the company, which is I resigned as the chief sales officer, and I signed up as a distributor, promoter, representative, whatever word you want to use, inside the company, because I believed wholeheartedly in this new idea, the quote-unquote 90-day challenge. What happens next was fascinating by many stretches of the imagination. Again, we went and did $2 billion in sales over the next 4.5 to 5 years, which is unbelievable. But on that journey, some major shifts happened. And the biggest shift was each year, a piece of our company was acquired by the company that had bought us when we were a high-end anti-aging company doing $3 million a month. So people often want to know, and this part of the story is so important because if you know Blake or I, if you know the story, you want to know this part of the story, which is what happened there, you know, where'd that company go, why, et cetera. There's a bunch of unanswered questions there probably for a lot of people, and it's important as we lead into this particular story of Liv. And the answer is, as we were purchased, well, by year 4, we no longer owned the company. So in the biggest year that we had became the transfer of 100% of the power, where we no longer owned the company that we were the face of, which meant several things. It meant that no decision that was of any importance could be made without going through layers of approval. It meant that a company that is 30 plus years old, we had to adhere to their process and procedures. And they're a very slow to react type company. We were a very entrepreneurial, fast-moving, malleable company. Malleable? Malleable, yeah. Malleable. We were very malleable. We were able to adaptable company that was now, you needed 5 board meetings to make one decision. And by that time, 17 other companies had already made the decision you were trying to make 6 months ago. So slow to react, slow to respond. And then it also became a company whose other entities were crashing. Not ours, but its other entities. Which meant it was taking all the cash out of our company to fund its losses in all of its companies. So, in this created a very significant power struggle, motivation struggle, decision-making struggle, a series of management struggle, a series of struggles that aren't seen to the public eye, and so on and so forth. And it also created a challenge in which they owed us $134 million to 3 of us, and could no longer afford to pay that which they owed us for the last year that they bought us. So there's an intriguing scenario. They now own the company, they bought it, but they actually didn't pay us the last year for what they bought. So imagine handing over your life's work and they can't afford to buy it, but you've handed it over. So these are the things that were going on behind the scenes with us. So they're like, okay, our options are we can bankrupt this parent company, which meaning we could reverse takeover, which meant we would own all their other entities, which were failing, not interested in all their headaches. But moreover, they were really good friends and mentors early on. And your goal is not to, take on friends and mentors and then bankrupt them. It makes you a giant a-hole, right? So not what we were interested in doing. So we were just very, nicely behind the scenes saying, hey guys, we'll figure it out. One of the other options was to take us public, which became the option that they decided to do. So they spun us out, and we were 1 week from going public. And I don't mean like figuratively, like, oh, it's like a week away. No, I mean like 1 week before we ring the bell on Wall Street, everything pre-planned, millions of dollars spent on the road show, the lawyers, all the banking institutions, everything's done. Unfortunately, that same week, this guy by the name of Bill Ackman decided to spend $1 billion to take down Herbalife. And I don't know, anyone who's plugged in the network marketing industry should know this story. He's been doing it for now 4 or 5 years. He did it for 4 years ineffectively, ended up losing. But once that happened, you have a more archaic, publicly traded weight loss company, indirect sales, called Herbalife. And then you have a very modern, cutting edge weight loss company in network marketing, which was us. And bankers were just going, you guys look the same. So therefore, we're going to cut your valuation by 50%, 70%, 80%. So Ackman's attack on Herbalife ended up killing our IPO. So we yanked it the week of. We literally, that $34 million they would have owed us would have been worth each of us $75 million the day we go public. I want you to follow the trend here. So when I say we pulled the IPO, I don't mean the company that owned us. We, the founders, pulled the IPO because we're like, this is going to be a disaster for our people, for our promoters, for our distributors. This doesn't feel right. Don't do it. So we pulled it, and with it became every attack you can think of, from short sellers to lawsuits to you name it. Oh, these guys faked an IPO. They just did that to jack up the stock price. I mean, everything. you can think of. So there were so many issues on the other side of the walls that nobody never knew of, and nothing that we could ever speak of, that were having such a major impact on what was happening, out there in the field. And then you combine that with just, bad decision making on our part, too slow to go international, too slow to add other flagship products, too slow to expand the product line. And I can go on and on and on, opening the wrong countries. And all of that is, when you're at war and you're going with your other owners, and you're like, no, we need to go here, and like, no, we don't want to go there. We go here because that's what we go. The other companies like, well, you sell candles, we don't sell candles. So there's just this huge battle, and at the end of the day, we end up telling those guys, tell you what, we're going to take the company back, and we're going to buy the company back with the $134 million that you owe us. So instead of foreclosing them or taking over their entities or yada, 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 what we end up doing is we end up taking the company back. And when you look at the trend of this and then this and the whole storyline play out, you'll notice there's the transfer of power and then there's a drastic decline in North America. And then you'll see that we step in and take the company back and start turning the company the other direction. Now, that leads us to 2 years ago. Just shy of 2 years ago, I get the opportunity to become the lead investor, the number one shareholder, and the CEO of the company. What this requires is a series of decisions. Number one is I have to stop collecting my income as the number one promoter. So at that time, I'm making a 7-figure passive residual as a leader in the field, and it's coming whether the company's doing well or not. Because the team's doing well, whether or not the company's doing well, you pay the commissions. So I'm making a 7-figure passive residual. It requires several $1 million of personal investment, and it requires of taking a new salary as opposed to my old commissions, which is a little bit lower. So I evaluate what I want to do with the next chapter of my life. I basically spent the first 7 years in the field. I spent my first 7 years in the field, the next 5 or so in corporate, the next 7 back in the field. And here I am going, okay, what do I want to do next? And I saw taking over the function as a CEO as among other things, a new personal challenge. After you do certain things in your career and you're like, I know I can make money doing anything. We can go into that industry and make money. I can go into that industry and make money. But why do this? And the answer is an awesome new personal challenge to take over that CEO function, that CEO role. Hey guys, welcome. Hey, come on in. No, you're fine. You're fine. We actually probably just started maybe 12 minutes ago. So we're just 12 minutes in the storyline. Yes. We saved these 2 for you if you want them.
Thank you.
And if you want us to shut the blinds, we can do that too. So I said, all right, it's a new personal challenge to come in on the CEO function. It means instead of being in the field and dictating where I'm going to go and when and having ultimate entrepreneurial autonomy, it means I'm taking on a corporate role and a corporate function. And there's rules to that, and there's less autonomy inside of that. But it was a new and exciting adventure, a new exciting challenge. I also saw it as a way to take 13 years of my life's work and extend it, right? So sure, we can go do something different, we can go do this, we can do that, but how do I turn this into something that lasts 25 years? There's very few things that can say they've lasted 13 years, let alone 25 years or whatever. And so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I made the decision. I turned off my commission check. So my passive 7-figure residual is now reduced to 0. I put up the several million to become the number one shareholder and take over the CEO function. And I took the fascinating salary of 0, which is significantly less than what I was making as a distributor. And these were 3 personal decisions that were wrapped up into one. To do what? To take the reins and say, what are we going to do next with this, and what's the future of this? And if anything, I want you to hear a common trend of when stuff gets really difficult, when stuff gets hard, when stuff gets bad. These guys not only stick around, but they take all their own cash and they put it in and say, let's go. And that's who we are. And we've been doing that for nearly 14 years inside of this company, for 21 years inside the industry. And there's a lot of things that we're not. There's a lot of things that we're not good at. There's a lot of things that we're imperfect at. And there's probably a laundry list of them. Just talk to people that are no longer with us. They'll give you that list. There's also a lot of things that we are great at, a lot of things we are, successful at. But one of the things that we can consistently say is we double down when stuff gets hard. And when everyone else looks for an easy way out, when everyone else looks for something else, when everyone else tries to find an easier path, we double down, and we do it with our own resources. And that's a pretty cool thing. So I took over the CEO role, and I wrote this 20-page memo to the board, the executives, and our top 5 career money earners. And it was called Project Catalyst. And the idea was, hey, I'm not a really good traditional CEO, but I'm a great catalyst to get stuff going and on fire. And
you do a pretty good job.
Thank you. There'll probably be a more traditional, operationally driven CEO that will replace me at some point and allow me to do more stuff that's inside my wheelhouse. But I'm a great sprinter, and I can sprint for 3 to 5 years and get stuff really firing and make some really cool stuff happen. I wrote this thing called Project Catalyst. Inside that, I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to double down our international expansion with our legacy brand, which we have done and which still does 9 figures a year. So some people are like, whatever happened to those guys? They still do 9 figures a year without you even knowing about it. That's pretty cool. Be like, oh, those guys suck. Like, whatever happened to them? Like, they still do 9 figures a year without you knowing about it in languages you don't speak, right? So that's what happened to it. But what it did do is it freed up an opportunity, and this was a part of a calculated 7-step memo. One of it was to create a new vehicle and a new opportunity, a new possibility inside of North America. Enter into the beginning of this conversation. Perfect timing. Hello, and welcome. Hi, how are you? You're fine. And hello again to anybody that logged on late joining us on Zoom. Glad to have you guys. The timing right now is we just shared the backstory of what we've been up to for the last 18 years, up until a year and a half ago. So a year and a half ago, when I made those decisions, we decided, okay, we got to launch something new in North America. What does it look like? And we decided let's forget everything we've ever learned or that we thought we learned, and let's just take every meeting. So we took every meeting and said, okay, we've got a war chest of intelligence of people that know how to run direct selling companies up to 65 million a month. We don't know how to run it beyond that, but we have the same COO, CLO, CIO, CTO, CFO, the same gang. Yeah, the C team. The executives, right? All of those executives are the same people that were working with us at 30, 40, 50, 60 million a month. So these guys know how to launch, scale, expand, how to take on every failure, every success, how to launch products, how to launch countries, how to launch markets, how to hire, how to fire, how to lay off, how to expand, how to launch departments, how to launch offices, how to take on every lawsuit you can think of, all of it. That's that team we got. So let's launch something new in North America, but let's take every meeting. So we did. And as you can imagine, a lot of people popped up saying, hey, I've got the next best thing. We want you to sell it. So we looked at every product, every service, every software. We looked at solar. We looked at teeth whitening. I was like, I'll look at everything. Like, nothing is off limits. If there's something that within 5 minutes whitens your teeth and someone can demo it in a living room and I could have 1 million moms doing that, I'm in. Like, I'll look at it, right? So we looked at everything. Service, technology, product, pill, liquid, I don't care what it was. Nothing was off limits. And we came down to decision time, and we're like, we're out of time. We got to make a decision. And we narrowed it down to 3 things. And we had all those same 12 people that got that memo. We had those same 12 people in the room, and we said it's decision time. And we spent all day in a boardroom debating which one it was going to be. Well, I guess presenting and representing and Q&A. And then it was time for the debate. So we shifted to debate mode, and we're about an hour into debate mode, and I'm thinking to myself, this isn't good. None of these is the right one. We're in trouble. How do I tell these people who are now debating which one they love most? So now they're building a case, when you're building a case for something for yourself. So now they're falling in love with stuff that I know deep down isn't the right thing. All of them we could have sold. All of them we would have done well with, but none of it was something I wanted to spend the next chapter of my life doing. So I interject myself. We're now in hour 13 of the meeting. It's probably 9 something at night. And they've shut the air conditioning off in the office, in the big office tower. It's that late now. There's like lunch left over still in there, smelling like, 2-day-old guac and BO and just anger and sweat in the room. And it's just that's the environment. And I tell everyone, I'm just like, everybody stop talking. And everyone just keeps talking. I'm like, no, literally, like, everyone stop. And it's when you got to break, like, the really bad news that you don't want to break, but you're like, oh, no, I've got to say this. We don't have it. Like, I don't know what it is, but we don't have it. And if you could just feel the energy fall out of the room, like, no, we just spent 3 months finding what it was going to be, and you're now telling us none of these are it. And I said, I don't know what the answer is. I just know these are not the answer. And I go on this micro rant, and I say, I think we've been asking ourselves the wrong question this whole time. We've been asking ourselves, what will really sell? What's new, fresh, and exciting? What's hot and sexy? I mean, we've been asking ourselves these questions, but none of us ask ourselves, what the hell do we want to do the rest of our lives? And I was like, we didn't ask ourselves that. So I start pointing around the room at the circle. I'm like, utopia. Forget about all of our history. You can do anything inside our industry. Direct sales, networking, clean slate. What is it? What's utopia? And nobody could answer the question. I couldn't answer the question either. That's why I was pointing at all of them, right? And that's what you do when you don't know the answer. You're like, let's start with you. So I don't know what the answer is, because if I knew the answer, I would have presented the answer instead of these other 3 things. So we wouldn't be talking about these other 3 things. And I swear to you, like a lightning bolt, it hits me. And I say, I'll tell you what I do the rest of my life if I do one thing and one thing only. I would take average, everyday people, and I would give them life experiences that they would remember and talk about in their closing moments of their life, meaning the last year, the last month, whatever. Maybe not the last second, but I would help them take things off their bucket list and turn it into a live list. Now, that terminology was very normal in the room because live list was not a new idea at that exact moment. Live list was my number 1 keynote speech for a decade. When the movie Bucket List came out, I said, terrible philosophy. You should not have a bucket list. You should have a live list. So that was really known inside our community as the moment I said live list to everyone else outside of our company, it's your dream list. It's your dream list. What do you want to do before you leave this earth? I want to do that. I just think bucket list is a terrible philosophy and terrible connotation. Get terminally ill and then do something about your life. Bad idea, right? So live list is the list of things you look back on and live, not the list of things that you look back on and didn't do and kick the bucket. So it's the same idea, but positively framed. So I basically said to what these guys knew already, what if we could take the live list and turn it into a company? Like, what if all we did was amazing experiences for people? And that became the birth, of that idea. And ironically, Blake was the only person not in the room. And I didn't know it. I didn't realize it. Blake had stepped out because he had a scheduled webinar that he had to do at that moment. We thought we'd be done already. And so he stepped out. When I said, you know what, I'll tell you what, let's just break right now. I went on this rant and nobody really engaged. I said, let's end, let's break. You guys don't get it is what I'm thinking in my mind. And everyone walks out, and then Blake walks in as we're walking out. And I was like, Blake, I didn't know you weren't in the room. Here's a quick 2-minute recap. What I want to do is da-da-da-da-da-da. And he goes, I could spend the rest of my life doing that. All of a sudden, we had 2 of us going, wait a minute. What if all we did was create amazing life experiences for average, everyday people that they can go on, do, be a part of, start globally, reverse engineer it back to locally, where they were curating them locally. And what if we could figure out the membership to go alongside? And I said it in that room. I said, the hard part is not going to be the experiences. The hard part is going to be creating a membership that people value enough while waiting for the experiences. And we were right. That was the hard part. That was the challenge, because it took us from that point about 8 months to get the membership off the ground and get it live. And it's taken another 8 months to get the membership dialed in. So you guys are coming in at a really intriguing moment, because it's taken us a year and a half to get to live to membership dialed in. And there's a difference between going live and then beta testing once you go live. Beta testing in network marketing is with people. It's the A/B testing is on networks. You're out there presenting like crazy, and people, whether responding, reacting, they're giving you real-time feedback. We don't like this. We think that's complicated. I don't see the value. And you're just taking all the feedback and you're tweaking. Well, last month, we took all the feedback from that 8 months. We launched the newest version of the membership. Experiences easy, membership difficult. And that seems to be hunting at a very, very, very fast rate. So you guys are coming in at what I believe is the best time to date. It could be the best time overall. We don't know. It depends on what happens next. If you're coming in right before momentum kicks in, it's the best time ever, right? It's definitely the best time to date, because it's taken us 8 months to get that membership correct, and looking forward to going over that with you guys through Blake. But coming backwards, the idea of a Liv list is something that, ironically, is the end game for every single company in our industry. And we didn't create it because of this, but as we went into the heavy ideation modality and creation and talking and presenting, etc., it dawned on us that, and I can speak for myself, and then you can figure out how that connects back to you. As full-time networkers, I thought my personal purpose was to help people make full-time incomes and fire their boss. That's what I thought my personal purpose was inside the industry, is to work with hungry, driven, committed, coachable, loyal people and help them be successful so they could live a life that was free of their career, and they could begin to check things off their live list. Or off their dream list, we'll call it. So step one, turn you into an entrepreneur, sell product or service, doesn't matter what it is, so you can make money to then check stuff off your list. And then I really started thinking, wait a second, isn't that what every single person in the network marketing industry is training? First thing they train, what are your dreams? 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 Dream board, dream list, dream circle, dream. What's your dreams? That's the same thing. Bucket list, dream list. It's all the same language, okay? So you're creating this list. Oh, welcome to the team. You want to be successful with this? What are your dreams? Every Saturday, what are your dreams? Every webinar, what are your dreams? You want to add goals to it? Fine. Goals, just a dream with a deadline. It's all the same topic. And we get them committed. We get them sold out to and linked to what they want. And then we give them a business vehicle selling product or service blank so they can make money to go check stuff off that list. True or false? True. That's the formula. Now, that might not be your purpose as why you joined your company or you lead your company, but that was mine. I got really committed to helping people become full-time. That became the thing I fell in love with. But as time wore on, I realized that I don't know. I mean, I know now, but as time went on, I was like, I don't know. Is my life's purpose just to get them full-time in this industry? Or is my life purpose to get to the end of this, which is just check stuff off their list? Does it matter if I turn them into a full-time entrepreneur for them to check stuff off the list? And that's kind of like if the lightning bolt hit for the first time in the room, that's when lightning struck me a second time where I said, holy cow, our product is everyone else's end game that they're teaching in every other company. Every other company, every Saturday, every goal-setting workshop, every dream workshop, all of it, all they're trying to do is get people linked to a list of things that they haven't done, that they can go check the box on because of this company. All we're doing is taking that and moving that up to the product or service. Why is that so critically important? Well, why this is so critically important is I believe we will service the underproductive promoter in a way that they've never been serviced or taken care of before in the history of the industry. And the underproductive promoter is 95% of your team. Not for any of reasons that are our fault. There's 100 reasons of why they're underproductive. They're afraid. They've been mentally abused since they were a kid, that they're never going to amount to anything, and they still believe it. They are just really, really bad skill-wise, and it's going to take them years to overcome that. They're lazy. They're unmotivated. We can give 100 reasons why this guy makes it and that guy doesn't make it. But what we do is we say anybody can. Technically, that is true. Anybody can make it. But realistically, we know every time we show up at that convention, that guy ain't gonna make it, she ain't gonna make it, you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna make it, unless something drastic, and I mean drastic changes. And can something drastic change? Sure, absolutely. And then there's also this whole other part, which is, by the way, most of those people are showing up not because they want to become you, they just like hanging out with you, which is a whole different thing. Like, you're as you're on your way up, you're like, everybody wants to be a top producer, right? Right, guys? Right? No, most of them just want to be around that environment and could care less if they ever do or not. So we keep reclosing them to come back to these conventions to go see the same people get recognized and hear the same damn trainings to say, you can do it this time, a new run, to know that they're not going to do anything. But they're going to stand up and talk and declare all their goals and talk about all the stuff they're going to do and feel guilty for the next 120 days that they didn't do any of it, just to show back up to that convention center again to do the same thing all over again, right? And this is the repetitive process of network marketing. And I'm not saying I'm not okay with that, because I still believe that anybody at any point, the light bulb can go off and they can make the decision. It happened to me. From the point the light bulb went off, it took me 3 years to get to a 6-figure income from making $100 a month or whatever, right? So it can happen. It's just hard to do. But if we're trying to turn on the light bulb so that they can check stuff off their list, what if I can just take all these people and just check stuff off their list, whether or not the light bulb goes on or off? We will have people, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, who are going to take all the money they make in our comp plan and convert it to experiences. Now, outside people would say, well, that's stupid. So you're going to spend all your money on experiences that you made through that business? It sounds like a stupid business. Well, what do you plan to do with your money that you make in your business? Well, I've got this list and I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there. Oh, you're going to take your family to Bali. Okay, yeah, we're going to do that next year. Oh, Greece? Yeah, we got that. Machu Picchu? That's already activated and sold out. Croatia? 10 more people to activate that. That is our business. So all the hard work you're putting in to go make all this money, save all this money, to check stuff off your list, we will have people that are just going to take their commissions, convert it to what we call Liv Coin, which you'll learn about later, and convert it to experiences that 2-3 times a year, they're going to take all their family on cool experiences. And their entire reason for being in our business is to make an extra $1,000 a month to do that. It's a whole new economy. It's a life experience economy for an army of stay-at-home moms, which is a rant within itself. Turns out, as an alpha dominant male, I did not understand for 17 or 18 years. I never stopped to think about it. It wasn't that I was trying and I couldn't figure it out. I never really slowed down to think about, whoa, a stay-at-home mom doesn't want to be a top earner. By definition, their full-time job is to be a stay-at-home mom. That's their full-time job. So my purpose was, I need to get people out of their job. Let's go, Mom. I need more. Let's go. It's time to ramp up the hours. Mom's like, I don't want to fire my boss. That would mean I must fire my children. You're missing what I want to do here. But I never really stopped to think about that because, again, I was wound up with my job. My purpose is to get people out of their job. A stay-at-home mom don't want to get out of her job. That is her job. That's her full-time job. but they want other projects. They want to financially contribute. They want an outlet. Wow, what a cool business for every stay-at-home mom to make an extra $1,000 a month, teaching all of her friends, neighbors, etc., how to check stuff off their Liv list, and she can convert all of her commissions into coin and take her family on 3 epic experiences a year. What a way to contribute. What a way to have something that's a cool distraction. And what a way to give your family lifelong memories. It's better than selling widget X or this makeup or this powder to then make some money to say I'm contributing. You can exchange that for epic life experiences. So this is it's almost like an economy inside of it's a currency, excuse me. It's like an experience currency. And when you really stop to think about, well, nobody, can afford to go on this or that, because they're saving money to go on this or that. And by the way, people can't afford stuff because they constantly spend it on something. So if they don't spend it on our experiences, they're going to spend it on clothing. They're going to spend it on something. People that spend. And I'd rather have them spend it on something that's going to create a memory forever than a stuff. P.S. The whole world is shifting. It's shifting away from the acquisition of stuff and into the creation of experiences. And what's really cool, this is more of a really interesting business topic. What's really cool is in the United States, there's 2 very prominent groups of people. One is 80 million baby boomers. The other is 72 million millennials. And they're saying the exact same thing with different language, meaning they use different words. But baby boomers like, I can't wait just to retire, sell off everything I own, move into a Winnebago and live off the land and travel for like I don't want to own, I want to get rid of everything. And then there's millennials like, I'm never going to get anything. I'm going to live in a studio apartment. I'm going to Uber everywhere. I'm going to see the world. Like they're saying identically the same thing, just in different ways. It's really funny. So you're telling me 200 plus million Americans are saying they want to spend their money on our service. That's really interesting data to pay attention to, right? It's like all they want is experiences. Let us create those experiences for them. Couple other things on this, and we'll take a quick break, and then Blake will go into more specifics on this. Personally, from a personal perspective, life experiences has always been a lead philosophy in both Blake and mine's life. So it wasn't like we said, whoa, here's an opportunity. It's perfect timing. Let's create a company called the Liv List. Let's sell life experiences. No one else is out there doing it. That actually happened second. Everything's relative. But when you relatively look at where we've spent our money, in our lives, it's been on experiences first. Yes, we do have nice stuff, and yes, we do have cool stuff, but we could have had a hell of a lot more of it if I would have spent all my money on a watch collection or a car collection. But I've spent literally 8+ figures on experiential things. We were members of Quintessentially, and we were members of, we still are, of Centurion for Amex. And these are membership-based groups that, they're responsible for creating great life experiences, and you spend insane amount of money to do it. I've always been the curator of epic life experiences for our friends group and family group. That's my job. It's like, no, we're not just going to go there. We're going to go there and we're going to do this, and then this is going to happen, and that's going to happen. So this is literally who we are, and I see that there's this massive gap of bringing that to the average everyday person. And when I first came up with the idea that next week I started going, okay, well, we better go through the network to see who's in this space. And I hit up a guy who was the senior vice president for a company called Quintessentially. And Quintessentially is top 1 of 1% money earners in the world. You must make 7 figures a year to even become a member. And Quintessentially does the most outrageous things that the human mind can come up with, and they'll do it. Like you want zebras parachuted in for your daughter's birthday party in cargo boxes, and they open up and they'll do it. You want to shut down the Sydney Harbor Bridge, they'll do it. As long as you got the money, they'll pull this stuff off, and they'll figure out how to go do this stuff. And it's the most insane concierge service for the wealthy in the world. For one Valentine's Day, I had them in Belize, in a far off area where there was nothing, have a helicopter come pick us up, fly us over the jungle and the rivers, and land in this really cool resort area in the mountains. As we got off, champagne, strawberries, horseback ride up to the top of the mountain where they had set up a chef and a waiter, but a chef and a waiter who served a lunch that they were cooking right there. They brought up all the cooking supplies and the burners, overlooking Mayan ruins. And that's what I told them I wanted to do. It's like, so they made it happen, right? So you can have them do stuff like that. So how do you do that for the middle class? And how do you bring that to middle class? So I go in and meet with the senior vice president of Quintessentially. And I have, going into this, a preconceived notion that this guy's probably not going, he's only taking the meeting because we're members and we have bought multiple memberships in the past. And he's just humoring me. And he's also ultra British. Quintessentially is a British company. He's probably going to be a little bit snotty and snobby in that regard as well. So like, I deal with the wealth of the wealthy of the wealthy. Yes, I'll listen to you. And he's ultra British. I'm preparing myself for a guy that just doesn't want to be there. So I'm in this meeting and I'm telling him the idea, and he starts asking questions. And anytime somebody's asking questions, usually that means they're interested. And his questions are getting better and better and better. So finally I stopped him. I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on here. You know, clearly you're pretty interested in what I'm sharing with you. What are you thinking? And he does one of these. He looks to the left and looks to the right and he goes, don't tell anyone, but I'm resigning from Quintessentially. I said, okay. And he goes, I brought to them an idea similar to you for the last several years. I've opened up 17 offices for them in 17 different countries. I'm the number 6 shareholder, blah, 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 blah. I'm closer to the ground and to what's going on than any of these other guys. And I brought to them for years that they need a Quintessentially light because there's a demographic that is underserved, that is the 95%, and there's nobody. He was telling me what all these companies he goes Ferrari, Porsche, Lamborghini, Rolex. We all have the same list, and we're all selling the same stuff to the same list. We're just doing this. And he goes, and we all know we got the same list because there's only so many people that make a million a year or more. It's 1%. And we're all just trying to push the same or different products to the same list. And we're literally comparing the list, going, maybe we can partner on this one. You sell the Rolex, you sell the Ferrari, we'll sell the vacation, right? It's all the same people. And we're all fighting over the same people. And he goes, now you're seeing more experiential-based companies get into the space, all fighting for the same list. He said, there is nobody that is servicing the middle class. And he goes, whoever figures that out will be, a multi-billion dollar company. And I was like, ding, light bulb gone off, because what I know is network marketing companies know how to service the middle class better than anything. They know how to go into Iowa, sit in a living room and talk to 9 moms. They know how to go into Nebraska and talk to 10 guys that own a farm but want to make some more money. And they don't want to talk to the fancy pants quintessentially person or this person. They want to talk to one of their own, right? And that's how we've started. That's how we've always been. And we're able to connect, at that level. So the opportunity here for us to be a first mover, to do something special, to do something unique, to do something fulfilling, man, to go on the experiences we've already gone on. I've done a couple things already that are like a couple of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, and I'm able to do inside this company. Like when we just got back from San Diego, we did a 3-day experience, but one of the experiences was an aircraft carrier party.
That was dope.
I mean, I don't, it doesn't matter how rich you are. Until you walk onto an aircraft carrier and everyone's dressed up in Top Gun outfits and it's your aircraft carrier for the night, like it was our aircraft carrier for the night, like that's an amazing life experience. You could spend, people spent $600 on our 3-day experience. Let's call that day $200. Actually, some spent $400 for 2 days and some spent $300 for 3 days. Call that $200. For $200, You got to have a night on an aircraft carrier, and you got to act like, Tom Cruise or Goose or Iceman. And there was 30 retired, once active planes of all different types. Helicopters, bombers, like fighter pilots. And you're going from each one, taking photos with them. You're going on a tour back. Desert Storm was launched from that particular aircraft carrier. All of the paperwork is still up. All the plans are still up. And then you get to come to the top and eat cool food and dance your ass off. And it's a really cool experience. That was probably the most memorable thing we've done so far for me personally. It won't be for other people, but it's like, this is our aircraft carrier right now. This is us, right? So that was a really cool thing. Renting out renting out the racetrack in Vegas was super cool because we went there at 10 at night and we took over the racetrack, and we're going 160, 170 miles per hour around the racetrack, multiple laps, and there's nobody else there. We threw a party inside of the huge, not auditorium, but the huge welcome area, and they got like 20 or 30 like of the best vehicles outside, Lamborghinis and Ferraris, but you're touring all of them while you're waiting to drive around the racetrack. And it's different going there during the day, and you're one of the 1,000 people there, and going there privately with 200 other people, and it's all your branding. There's champagne, there's desserts, and there's food, and there's people walking around serving you. Then you get in your race car. Like, that's a different experience. And when you're from the Inland Empire, not Beverly Hills, when you're from the IE, when you're from Oxnard and not Beverly Hills, and you go do that, that's pretty damn cool. Right? That's pretty damn cool. And that's the stuff that we do, we constantly do, and we consistently do. And I want to get you guys just married to, what's the ultimate outcome here? The ultimate outcome is this for me. I know people, when they will look back on their life, and there's going to be a series of memories that they're going to remember. My belief is if you can create something that is so memorable for them that you're in that list of the 20 final memories, then you've created a really cool brand. If they associate one of their final memories in their last year or 2 years, whatever, to you, that's a really cool brand. We have sold over 500 some million shakes served. That's a lot. 500 billion shakes. It'll easily go to 1 billion and beyond. I am fully confident. There will be nobody. And their closing moments of life was like, God, you remember that shake? Wow. Like, it tastes like cake. I'll tell you what, it was pretty amazing. Now, I know we will help to extend moments into their life, and they'll never do the math on that because they lost weight or got healthier. So they might actually be there in that moment because they lost 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds of this. Who knows? But they're not going to remember that. If I can create a memory where that person remembers their daughter having a first inside of our company because she did the bungee cord jump or did the, whatever with us, the shark dive, and he's there taking the picture, or the grandchild, and we can be the company that perpetuates that, then there's nothing else I'd rather do. And I don't think there's any better service you can provide to the world than creating memories that they're going to remember for the rest of their life. Tell me a better one. And that's what I want to be able to do, and that's what we are doing. And you guys are finding us at a time where we're past beta of dialing in the membership. The experience side is easy. We throw cool experiences. We always have. We just did it for ourselves and for our friends and for our companies. Now we do it as a company. It's our service. That's easy. We finally have the membership to a place where it's logical. So somebody who sits in Omaha, who sits in Oxnard will go, yes, I'll spend $49 a month on that. That's logical while I wait for the experience. Once we get into the experience, it's we have a very long retention of that individual because people not only do they need people not only do people want to go and have great times and vacation experience, etc., and they want a great group of people to do it with, a lot of them also need to be told what to do. So they don't go do XY. Nobody goes to Google and Oxnard or IE is like, when's the next aircraft carrier Top Gun party? You don't think to look for that, right? But if somebody says, aircraft carrier party, go dress up as Goose, they will have that outfit in 7 minutes shipped to them from Amazon, right? So there's an important aspect of this, which is we're also going to be servicing a demographic that doesn't sit there and think for hours on end how to go create the coolest experiences. Now, I think millennials probably spend more time there, and that will be their advantage, and also why they'll want to join us because we'll have that already done for them. But boomers also have a lot more cash to be able to put into it, right? So there's a balance in between the two. So there's a high level. There's like, hey, here's how we got to this point. Here's what we're doing. Here's what's up with the sister company. Liv is, for us, stripping out one key pillar of the mission of our sister company and spending all of our time focused on that key pillar, which is life experiences, live list, memories, and building a company around that idea. I will tell you this, out of 21 years of network marketing experience, it is the only and best, the best and only 10 out of 10 introductory conversation pitch that I've ever seen. It's 10 out of 10. Meaning if you say the right thing to 10 people, and I'll teach you how simple it is, all 10 of them will take the next step. They will not all sign up. That's different. I'm talking about first entry into a sales funnel. 10 out of 10 will say, tell me more. I've never seen that before. Now, I've been at 5 out of 10 maybe 4 out of 10 to then take the next step. But try it out. Try it out in your Uber driver. You're going to have to call your Uber now for 3 hours from now, by the way, if you want to get off this hill. That's just a hint. Give you a heads up. No, try it with your Uber driver. When he says, what do you do? And he's like, what do you do? What else do you do outside of Uber? Oh, I do this. It's inevitable. Hey, what do you do? Oh, I'll tell you what I do. I take people's bucket lists and I turn it into a live list. Meaning I take something that they've always wanted to do and probably won't, and I give them a way to do it when you do it with people all over America. I promise you 10 out of 10 will say, how do you do that? Tell me more. Because it is a personal thing to them. A product is not always personal. A service is not always personal. But the moment you say something that's on your list, you could take the most negative human being on earth, people that hate sales, salesmen, people that hate humans, and you say, what's on your bucket list? We don't try to go against, when we're in the initial pitch, we'll go with bucket lists. We don't try to rewire that. What's on your bucket list? The most negative person on earth would say, I just want to go away to an island where there's no other human beings and it's just me and I don't ever have to see anyone. Like, we can make that shit happen for you. Like, sign up. So it's a 10 out of 10. Now, it's up to us over time to figure out how to get that 10 out of 10 to be 8 out of 10 sign up, 7 out of 10 sign up. And that's a function of presentation, messaging, repetition, A/B testing, and that's what we've been doing for the last 8 months, right? But I think we've got the stickiest idea to ever be brought to a prospect where you're not really good at sales. You can say, I take a bucket list, turn it into a live list. It's really fun. I went here, I went here, I went here. You should check this out. What's on your list? All of a sudden, you're in a very active conversation. So I'll let that sit with you for a few minutes. I know there's what just happened. What should have happened is I should have triggered about 15 to 20 to 30 questions like, well, how do you do this? What does that look like? How much does it cost? Da-da-da-da. What's the membership? What's in the membership? What's the value of the membership? In which case, I leave all those difficult questions to my partner, and I go and hang out in the back of the room and give him hand signals for how much time he has left. So let's do this. Let's take a quick 5-minute break. Use the restroom, grab a snack, exit quietly down the hill if you didn't like what you heard so far. I'll see you in 3 or 4 hours. And I hope so far so good. Thanks, guys, for your time.